All right, thanks, guys. Actually, coming off not a bad day of leans. We had a 5-3 record in MLB, 3-1 in NHL yesterday, and 1-3 in NBA. So not too shabby there. So we're gonna look to improve today for Tuesday's NBA, NHL, and MLB action. Don't forget to check me out at patreon.com/rockpage, where we are absolutely crushing it in several different categories. But let's begin with the NBA playoffs, starting off with the Magic taking on the Raptors. Now that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Toronto. The Raptors opened 11.5 total at 204. Now, I didn't see a whole lot of movement when it comes to the spread, although I did see a 2-point move upward on the total up to 206. So once again, the Raptors are minus 11.5. Total open 204 up to 206. 69% of the consensus is still leaning toward Toronto. 58% of the consensus is leaning toward the over. And right now the Magic are plus 600 on the road here. Now, if you like Toronto in the spot here to cover this very large number in the playoffs, it's going to be a tough one for you, in my opinion. They're just 19-24 against the spread at home. They've also failed to cover in 5 out of their 8 head-to-head matchups with Orlando this year. They rank 23rd in home offensive rebounding and 19th in defending the 3-ball at home. Now, the Magic on the other side, they're second in defensive points allowed on the road. They're also 6th in road defensive field goal percentage. They're shooting, holding their opponents to 45% in that category there. So once again, they are 6th in road defensive field goal percentage at 45% in that category. Now Orlando's 6-2 against the number in their last 8, 12-5 straight up in their last 17. They're also 4-2 against the number in their last 6 when traveling. Now total wise, well, actually I don't have any insight on the total. I do have one more thing about the Magic. They are 23-13 against the spread, taking on teams over 550. So really, markets over adjusting the point spread for them in those underdog spots and taking on teams that are in that top tier. So once again, the Magic 23-13 against the spread, taking on teams over 550. They're covering 75% of their games at the current number. I like the spot here. I know it's doesn't typically seem good with Orlando being on the road here, but I'm going to do it. Give me Orlando plus 12 after buying the hook. Yeah, I bought it there. How do you like that? And the over 206 in that matchup. All right, before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines of personal leans out for Tuesday's NBA, MLB, and NHL action. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to quickly remind you to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. We do daily picks on that website, and there's plenty of free content there as well. And like I said, we're doing pretty well in several different categories. If you want to find out what those are, check me out at patreon.com/BrockPage. My current record is a part of the free daily content. And as always, if you are a current patron of mine and you're watching me right now, you make it all worth it. Thank you so much. If I didn't have patrons, I probably wouldn't be as motivated to get up at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you so much, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Link for that website is in the description section below. But most importantly, let's get into the free YouTube content that we're doing right now. Let's go ahead and hop back into some more lines of personal leans. It all starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Nets-Sixers, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Philadelphia. The Sixers open -8, total 231. We're seeing movement upward on the spread and downward on the total. 8.5 and 229 and a hook. So once again, the Sixers open -8 up to 8.5. Total open 231 down to 229 and a hook. 57% are leaning Philadelphia. 57% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Nets are plus 320 on the money line. Now, if you like Brooklyn covering the number, they are 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 when traveling. They rank 8th in the association in offensive rebounding. They're also covering 61% of their games on the road. Now, the Sixers on the other side, they're covering just 48% of their games when laying the points. Their defense is also giving up a rotund 113 points per contest on average. And one more thing to note about the Sixers, they're covering just 48% of their games, taking on teams allowing more than 102 per contest. Now, total-wise, just 7 out of Philly's 19 games that tipped off at the current total actually got over. So Philadelphia 7-12 to the over in their 19 contests at the current posted total. Brooklyn's just 48% to the over, taking on teams allowing more than 102 points per contest. I'm going to lean toward the road dog in this one. I'm also not going to buy the hook. I'm not going to buy the half a point. I like Brooklyn plus 8.5 and the under 229 and a hook in that matchup there. Next game, Spurs, Nuggets, 9:30 Eastern tip-off in the Mile High City. Denver open minus 5.5, total 212. We're just seeing a little bit of movement downward on the total, down to 211. So once again, the Nuggets are minus 5.5, total open 212, down to 211. 53% are leaning San Antonio, 61% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Spurs are plus 200 on the money line. Now, if you like the Spurs in this spot here, just keep in mind they're taking on a Denver team who's covering 61% of their games at home. They're also 24-16 ATS as the official home favorite. The Nuggets rank second in the NBA in home points allowed. They're also first in home defensive rebounding. Now, the Spurs on the other side, they rank 20th in offensive rebounding. They also rank 23rd in defending the three ball. San Antonio is covering 42% of their games as the official road dog, which is not very good. And even worse, they're covering just 29% of their games. That tipped off at the current number. Now, total-wise, San Antonio is 62% to the over on the road. Denver 6-2 to the over in their last 8. I'm going to purchase the half a point and buy it down and lean Denver minus 5 and the over 211 in that game there. And we're going to slide into our next and final contest for our NBA slate. And that is going to be OKC taking on Portland, 10:30 Eastern tip-off in Rip City. Portland opened 3.5, total 220.5. Now we're seeing movement downward on the total in this one. Not a whole lot of movement on the spread though. Portland still minus 3.5, total open 220.5 down to 219. 62% are leaning Portland, 60% shaded toward the over. Right now, OKC is plus 140 on the money line. Now, if you like OKC in the spot here, I think you're in a really, really bad position. Portland is 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. Winners of 6 out of their last 7. They've successfully covered the number in 4 out of their last 5 at home, and they are 5-0 straight up in that same category. Portland, once again, second in home offensive rebounding, third in home defensive rebounding. Their offense is putting up 118 points per contest on average at the Moda Center. Now, OKC on the other side, they're an absolute mess, failing to cover in 4 out of their last 5 on the road. They're also underachieving in the sense that they are 29th in home three-point shooting. They're also failing to reach expectations with an incredible roster, ranking 28th in home free throw percentage. So OKC, really bad organization this year and in the past couple of seasons, just flopping in the playoffs with exceptional talent. Portland is 25-18 to the over at home. I'm going to lean the Portland Trailblazers minus 3.5. Going to leave the hook out there and the over 219 in that matchup there. Once again, Portland minus 3.5 and the over 219 in that matchup there. All right, next slate of games, it is going to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs, NHL. And I'm talking about Toronto taking on Boston. Game 7, all knotted up at 3 games apiece. That's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern puck drop in Beantown. Boston's minus 140, totals 5.5. 59% of the consensus is leaning toward the Bruins. 66% of the consensus is leaning toward the under. Right now, the Maple Leafs are plus 120 on the money line. Boston plus 200 on the puck line. We have Freddie Anderson in net for Toronto. Tuukka Rask projected in net for Boston. Boston has been very, very good at home this year. They went 30-11-3 at home. Their offense is averaging 3.34 goals per contest on their home ice. They rank 8th in home shots and fourth in home goals allowed. A couple more things about the Bruins. They are 633 as the